Hello, everybody, and welcome to Take Your Time, Persona podcast where we play Persona 3 Reload in real time along with the in-game calendar dates. I'm Tom Marks, joined as always by Jonathan Dornbush. Jonathan.
Hello.
Hi.
It is me. Hi. Yes, you called on me. I forget the answer. But I'm just going to fall asleep in class. Sorry.
No, nobody will think you're charming. You're more charming now.
That's my curse in life, is to get answers wrong and not be charming. But here we are.
God. We're back this week with June 30th, through July 7th, which is a busy week. We had a full moon this week. We did an extra day to pack it in there. It's been a wild one. And also there's this thing in the notes that I just have to read because Jonathan made the run of show, and the top one of the run and show says, we're covering June 30th to July 7th, including the latest full moon operation, FML, ? More like FMO, am I right, fellow youths? I literally don't even get that.
Full moon operation. I've been saying FMO to myself over this week when I was writing into my notes, and I was like, That's a dumb acronym. No one else is calling it that in the history of Persona 3. No one has ever called it an FMO. But I was like, it'd be really funny if we just start trying to make fetch happen with it, basically.
Well, we've got our third FMO to go through today.
Hell yeah.
But before we get there, as always, we have to do our confidant call out, which is we want to thank everyone who's at the highest ruler, the Palace Ruler tier, the highest tier of our Patreon, patreon.com/takeyourtime. Thank you so much to the people who support us over there. So we'd like to call those folk out as we do at the beginning of every episode. And they are Akechi is a Jelly Bean, Astral Clock Tower, Cameron C, Dallas, Damon, Dan F, Danimal Lover 01, Default Titus, Dexter, Goro Akechi, Keegan H, Michael V, Philip S, Programmer Sid, Sam K, Sarah M, Shade, Willie Wang Wang, and Zachary L. Thank you so much. If you want to support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/takeyourtime is the place to do it. And not only can you get episodes a day early, you can get them ad-free, all that good stuff. We just posted our, as of last week, our latest bonus episode. We do those once a month. This one was the one for July, but we published it at the beginning of, or for June, but we published it at the beginning of July. And we went over, this was voted on by the community over on Patreon. We went through and did a tier list of all of the Persona 5 confidants, all the social links that you have over in that game. We went through and put them through S tier to F tier. So if you want our thoughts on that, no spoilers here, you can go and sign up at Patreon. Check it out.
All I'll say is we have not been canceled by the Patreon community yet.
Oh, good.
Yes. So
good.
You know, some people are like, oh, I have those higher. But no outright, these men should never exist on the internet again. So we appreciate it out there, everyone, for keeping it civil. But yeah, let us, if you do listen to or watch that episode, I do recommend watching it because we have the tier list up as we go. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to record. So hope everyone enjoys it.
Not only that, Patreon followers will know we've been kind of like at the tail end of each month with these bonus episodes because we got the show started towards the end of the first month that we did it. But we're catching up this month. We've already got our next one planned, and it'll actually be out in just a couple weeks, which is pretty great. So the next bonus episode is coming hot and heavy, and then there'll be a little bit more in the actual middle of the month, therefore, from there on. Anyway, our last little bit of housekeeping is we have our pop quiz from last week. Jonathan, I asked people last week why on I think it was the Friday of last week's time, why did Akutsuki come over? Because he just sort of showed up and didn't explain himself, or there was no reason for him to be there, but he would tell you his reason if you talk to him.
And we have a lot of, I would say, variations around the correct answer. So, depending on wording, hopefully you'll give it credit. But essentially, he was there to start or to continue like practicing. He had more puns that he wanted to share with everyone. He had more jokes that he couldn't hold back and wanted to share them with the group.
That is generally correct, yes. If you talk to him, he specifically says, the mood around here has been so serious lately, I thought I would lighten things up, so today I will be performing my top 20 puns for everyone. I love performing puns. That is such a hilarious, that's not, I don't think he fully understands puns.
I mean, I do like the idea, though, of like a stand-up comic going on tour, and it's just an hour of puns. No actual setup, no, introspective storytelling, just an hour of puns. But no, to your point, that is the very specific answer. Shout out to Panorami, who got that one exactly correct. And then we had variations on it from, I believe, Francis, as well as Austin. I think a couple others. I'm trying to make sure I get everyone because there are so many places people can put these and I feel bad. So I'll keep going, but if you had any other thoughts on Akutsuki, please go ahead.
I just love it because it's not just that he came over to tell puns. You're in the middle of this very dark thing where people are dying or getting, apathy syndromed, and there's all this really heavy stuff going on. And he's like, it's been so serious around here. I just wanted to lighten the mood. And you're like, what? Dude, it's been serious because it's heavy stuff happening.
And there's more heavy stuff this week. Quite a bit of it. Yeah. But no, also shout out to Moral Quandary as well. And Dan, who wrote, with no knowledge other than just generally Akutsuki's character, I assume he's there to tell people bad puns.
Yes.
So
that was correct. Good job.
That's a great guess. Austin was one of those who got it correct and actually wrote in with an email that I thought I would just read before we get going.
Sure.
I think one, it's an easy answer, and two, it's just I think a good PSA for anyone who's wondering if they can juggle things. Austin wrote in, hey guys, I'm finally caught up to real time with P3R. I didn't start it back in April because I was still midway through FF7 Rebirth. Understandable. I finally beat it. Boy, was that game long, and I've caught up to the actual calendar date of Reload. I loved playing through Royal with you both in 2020, and I'm stoked to do it again now with Reload. So far, like you both, it's really not hard to make it's really hard not to make comparisons to Royal. I like the quicker pace in Reload, as I felt Royal should have been about 30 hours shorter, even though I loved it. I've also felt the story overall aim and who the bad guys are has been a little slow roll out in Reload, but I'm liking what I'm seeing as more story elements are unfolding in recent weeks. Anyway, they also had a question for us both. Since they still haven't played Persona 5 Strikers, they noticed the calendar starts in mid-July. They're considering starting it in real time as well to play along with the podcast. Are they crazy for playing both at the same time in real time? I appreciate you both and all you put into these shows. It's a blast playing alongside you, Austin. On the surface level, yes, of course, because we're all a little silly for playing a game in real time, naturally.
Sure.
But personally, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's...
Also, worth noting, we didn't do that podcast in real time because the calendar system is a little bit different. I think the whole game only takes place over the course of like a month, right?
Maybe month and a half-ish. Yeah. But I think it's definitely July and August.
And it's substantially shorter. It's only like 50 hours or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't see an issue with it because I think you will have this sort of thing of you might have weeks where you're playing a lot of Strikers, but you might also have weeks where you're not playing a lot of Reload because there's some shorter weeks maybe coming up. So it's one of those things where you have a nice give and take, and they're also very different games.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be overloaded on turn-based RPGs since it's such a different combat system. So I would say for Austin, as well as anyone out there who wants to play along with Strikers, it does start in just a couple of weeks. So feel free to jump in with that one. We do have all of that. It is on all the feeds for everyone available, not behind the Patreon paywall or anything like that. So if you enjoy and jump in, we hope you have a blast.
Cool. Well, let's jump into the week.
Let's do it.
Because it's 8 whole days we got to get through.
We'll speed through as we normally do, of course. We'll
go very quickly. No, we do have a lot to get through, so let's get into it. The 30th is the first day, and I think it's just free time, full-on free time until the evening. So what did you do with the day?
Yeah, a lot of just pure free time days we have coming up. With June 30th, I got Bebe to rank 4.
Nice.
What about you?
Let's start this show off right, shall we?
Go for it. Do I need to check in on you?
Yes.
Okay. Who did you hang out with? And then we'll...
Miyamoto.
Okay, because Tom, I did want to bring this up. There's been a lot of the Patreon community and some YouTube comments as well that have been worried about your sanity.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've been saying you felt there seemed to be some sort of time gating going on. And I had that thing where I was hanging out with Miyamoto quite a bit this week and Yuko, and I was like, something's going on. Something has to be up.
I mentioned, I think last week or the week before, that I was getting time gated on a few people, Miyamoto, Yuko, and Mutatsu, because I was getting this message that specifically said, and it was different from the other message. It was different from the message that says, I don't think because usually it either says, I think I'll grow closer to this person soon, or I don't think I'll grow closer to this person yet. And I got this message that said, I don't think, even if I spend, it was something along the lines of like, I don't think I'm going to grow closer to this person even if I spend time with them, right? It like was a different message. It was longer, and it was very clearly phrased like, even if you hang out with this person, you're not going to get closer to them. And I knew in Persona 5, it did that occasionally, where it didn't let you hang out with the person until something else happened or some other event happened or you got to a certain time. So I just assumed, oh, that's what that is. I'm getting gated off from whatever event needs to happen with these people. And then, Jonathan, people started saying, Tom, you're dumb.
In not so many words, but yes, yeah. I think there was a lot of just, genuine concern to make sure that you weren't preventing yourself from seeing all these incredible social links, and also just wondering what was happening. But
I appreciate people writing in and letting me know this, because then I did look it up and found out that message is just a variation of the same message, the other message, which I think is highly confusing.
No, I mean, the fact that both messages exist, the shorter one gives you the hope that you can maybe get there on the next one. The other message, which I got this week as well, and I read that, and that also clicked kind of a gear in my brain where I was like, oh, that's probably what Tom is getting. And then I looked it up too and saw the same thing of, no, it's just a variation. And it does feel more definitive that it's not going to happen.
It's very specifically like, you're going to have to hang out with this person and not get a level up, and then you will be able to level them up. And it just leaves that part off. I don't know. I'm going on about this too long. I sorted it out, is what I'm saying, and thank you to the people who wrote in to sort me out. So I hung out with Miyamoto and just, as a waste of time sort of thing. It was one of the unvoiced, just sort of hanging out with him, and then that would let me get a rank up next time.
Awesome.
So,
good.
I did that.
Perfect. And then we're still on June 30th. I already moved forward in my notes.
Yeah, no, so then in the evening, the package arrives if you bought the thing. I think it's just like food this time. And then fridge space opens up so you can put your Taiyaki in the fridge again. And then what did you do with the evening?
I planted with Fuka.
Oh, nice.
I
wanted to do that. I still haven't done that. Instead, I went and got scammed again.
Hanging out with our good pal in the mall?
Yeah, so I went and hung out with Tanaka, and this was the last time. So this actually also got him as a social link now. I won't spoil it, because I imagine some people haven't quite gotten here yet, because it costs a lot of money, and you have to get some stats up. But what I will say is it's a very weird one so far. Like, it feels very... I don't understand why it... I've done it twice this week, and I don't understand why. I don't understand why he's hanging out with me. I don't understand why he's in the mall. I don't understand why sometimes I'm his protege and other times he is threatening to sue me. It feels crazy.
It is a contentious relationship. Yeah. It's an interesting one. We'll see if you stick with it. If not, I understand, but I think it will be an interesting one.
I'm interested to do more, for sure.
Talk about in the long run.
Yeah. We'll see. But that's what I did.
Fair enough. And then
in the evening, we get a dark hour visit from, I almost said Jose.
I mean, similar vibes.
Yeah, it's similar vibes. From Pharos.
Yes.
He goes, hey, the world's about to end in 7 days.
Oh, really? I forgot. Silly me.
Yeah, so he's just there, again, the 7-day warning, right, from the full moon. I think that seems to be becoming pretty regular, and he even admits it. He's like, yeah, you're pretty used to this by now, so you're starting to pick it all up.
I was going to say, I did appreciate this one is self-aware. It's like, hey, the pattern should be very clear now. And I like that he even admits that. But yeah, it's he just promises to come see us again, and then we fly off to bed.
Yep.
That's it.
We can go to the first. What did you do on the first? So we have a little conversation with Mitsuru in the morning. Mitsuru meets you in front of the school and basically also warns you, says, "Hey, we only have 7 days. Get your crap together."
I would love to know if these were as omnipresent in the original game, the reminders. I assume they were mostly. It's just one of those funny things where, for me, sometimes when you get like 3 or 4 of them in a row, it very much feels like a playtesting thing of like, oh, there were probably some people who just completely were not prepared and then got upset about it.
Sure.
And it's like, here you go. Do not forget the big things
honestly,
happening.
as long as they aren't belabored, like as long as they don't take forever, I'm in favor of more reminders rather than fewer, because this game is so on rails in that, like, if you don't know a week ahead of time and you haven't planned right, you can really be screwed.
Yeah. I also think it's nice because the gravity of it makes sense for the characters. Like, this is the biggest deal in the world right now. They are under the auspices that this is world mattering, like this is very important. So yeah, it makes sense they would keep talking about it as you're getting closer. Yeah,
totally. Okay. Then the day is just the day. So what did you do?
I hung out with Bebe again, got him to rank 5. What about
nice. You? I hung out with Yuko to get through that hump of just the sort of not getting a rank up to then get a rank up next time.
Awesome. Good.
Then we went home and we did the most exciting thing of the whole game so far. We actually got our chilled taiyaki.
And you've beaten the game.
We beat the game. It's over.
The final boss of your friends stealing your food has been overcome.
Oh, but how can we enjoy it when now the logic of why is there no space in the fridge makes even less sense? How much does taiyaki shrink when it gets cold?
It's about a 300% shrinking process. So
seriously,
it really matters. Yeah. You got to let that one go. Unfortunately, in the reality of this game, it's not you. I mean, the royal you. It's very much I should be able to slip something right back into that fridge. That's not how fridges work, but okay.
Yeah. It's the next one is a month away. So this one's a bigger one. I think the last one was only like 2 weeks, and this one is a pretty long wait.
Yeah, I don't really know the reasoning. I guess I should maybe pay a little bit better attention, but I don't know what the reasoning is for each of the fridge cleanouts. But
just to mess with you.
Yeah.
Just to mess with me personally.
The same reasoning why you can't put food right back in the fridge. That's probably it.
Yeah. What did you do this evening?
I stuck around that fridge. I couldn't be far from it, and I cooked with Sonata.
Nice.
What about you?
I went to Tartarus. I had already completed Tartarus, but I went back for the 2 people that you need to go save.
Yes.
Which was a high-risk move for me because I was like, what if they introduce more later? But I didn't have a ton else I wanted to do. You know, I'd already cooked with Akihiko, and I don't know. It just felt like the right time to go.
Yeah. We're only a few days away, so it makes sense. And yeah, you don't want to get too down to the wire and not have done what you need to do in Tartarus, so I totally get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the first. So let's go on to the second. I drank a potion, and then, what did you do?
I hung out with Miyamoto.
Hey, me too.
What rank did you get him up to?
9.
Oh, okay, I got him to rank 7. I was like, I think I'm now somewhat catching up since you had your break.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I could have completed him last week, but I didn't realize.
Well, you live and you learn. We can maybe talk about him. If you get him to rank 10 either this week or next week, no spoilers, we could probably potentially talk about him next week because I've seen it all the way through. So that would be fine with me.
Yeah, let's plan on talking about him next week then.
Cool. That works because we also, shout out to everyone in the Patreon who left a lot of comments. We got actually a lot of comments about the Kenji discussion that we had last week. It might be good to talk about those within the context of another hangout. So I might batch some of those for next week's discussion. Yeah.
Great. Then we go to the evening.
Yeah.
We both just hung out with Miyamoto. I just spent time with Mutatsu to try to get him through that hurdle.
Gotcha. I got him to rank 2. So I hung out with him. Cool. I think this is where again, not too many spoilers, but since we're using his name, I believe rank 2 is where you learn his name. And so hung out with him, got him there, but I think I'm now hitting that wall because, yeah, I don't have any tower arcana.
Right. I also turned in those rewards for the lost people, and one of them is like 40 grand.
They're great. Yeah. I cannot recommend not, don't ignore those because they are absolutely so helpful to get as soon as you've saved those people. Always go to the police station as soon as you can after, because it might really be worth it to do so immediately.
That 40 grand feels sort of like they give it to you just to give to Tanaka.
I mean, honestly, that's what you need it for at this point. So it works out. Yeah, it's helpful.
Here's a bunch of money you didn't know you were going to make.
Oh, well. It's like you never had it at all.
Anyway, moving on to the third, speeding right along. There's a conversation you can overhear between two girls where one girl says that her boyfriend is moving kind of fast and asked if they wanted to go to Shirakawa Boulevard. And the other girl's like, ooh, that's kind of gross of him. And they're like, yeah, maybe I should just dump him right now. He's a loser. Which is a great high school drama conversation, but also it's a hint as to Shirakawa Boulevard. It sounds like that's the makeout place, but you don't really know details necessarily until later in the week when it's brought up again, obviously. That's not a secret.
Yeah, just another one of those, hey, maybe this is a name that might come up again. Maybe not, who's to say, but probably yes.
There's a class session where you have a quiz question within that about a quote from the Tales of Genji, I believe it's called.
Yes.
And then, why does my, I have a note that just says OP in all caps. No idea why.
Huh.
Who knows?
I have no idea. I'm trying to, did you maybe equip an item that was super powerful?
I genuinely don't know.
All right.
This is the funny things about taking notes while you're playing a game, trying to go quick. Sometimes you just don't remember. Moving right along, what did you do with the day?
This is July 3rd, I hung out with Miyamoto and got him to rank 8.
Nice. I hung out with Miyamoto as well, so now, max rank.
Hell yeah.
My second one.
Perfect. Congratulations. I think I can definitely get there by next week then, so we should be able to have that conversation. No problem. Yeah, so I guess shout out for everyone out there next week. We'll have some Miyamoto conversation. I know that word. Conversation. I'm fine.
And then what about your evening?
I spent my evening learning the word conversation. I got Mitatsu to rank 3 that night. I really thought I got stalled out, but I guess I didn't.
Nice. I got him to 4. So we had 2 days in a row where we did the same stuff.
Yeah, we're getting close with these synchronicity days. Let's see if we can keep it up.
Well, let's go to the 4th and see. You have a conversation with Yukari in the morning who is nervous. She's sort of anxious about the whole thing and the full moon and all of that. And this is this continued trend of her sort of not trusting Mitsuru and not knowing really what's going on and not being sure about a lot of this. So nervous about the operation that's coming up. But then what do you do during the day?
During the day, I hung out with Chihiro and got her to rank 7.
Nice. I, now knowing that I could hang out with Yuko again, have not hung out with Chihiro this week.
That's fair. I get that. Yeah.
So I hung out with Yuko, and I got her up to 5.
I don't know where I'm at with Yuko. We'll figure it out. But yeah.
And then what about the evening?
Oh yeah, we go right in. Man, it's quick.
Yeah, I mean, this week is, if we're going a little quicker, it's partly because we have got a lot to talk about towards the end of the show, but then also these days are fast lately.
Yes, yeah. It is I appreciate it, especially on the heels of a big story moment coming up, because I do think the game knows you want to get there, and rather than try to belabor the point, is like, yeah, we'll just forward you along, which is great.
There's not even a ton of new conversations to have around town, right? Like, a lot of the stuff about the Revenge website has sort of calmed down. There's like a couple little things here and there, but really it's just sort of getting you towards the stuff.
Which I love. And we'll get to that stuff soon. But yeah, in the evening, I watched a boxing video with Akihiko to raise my courage.
Fun. I hung out with Tanaka again. Got him to rank 2.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I forgot to go to him a couple days, so I actually have not unlocked him properly, but I'll probably do that next week. Yeah.
I will say, I'm enjoying him. It's just very, like, I don't mean to be like, I don't like that. I feel like I'm a downer a lot of the times with these confidant lines. I think he's a very funny character, and I think the idea of this is very funny. I just also, it feels like I don't know why it exists yet. You know, it hasn't answered that question, and I'm looking forward to seeing if it does.
Sometimes friendship doesn't need a reason, Tom. Sometimes it just is.
But this one, it wasn't like... This is the type of thing where your social link goes up, and rather than it being like, we're growing closer together, the message you get is like, I think I understand his deal a little better now, is basically what it says.
I wouldn't say you're pals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's the 4th, so let's just jump right along to the 5th. Speaking of Tanaka, we got Shopping Channel where you can buy some chocolate. It's called Yaba chocolate, and Dr. In Jelly was the other thing. That's an amazing item name.
They're great names, yeah. Is Yaba all in caps, or am I misremembering
it is.
that? Okay, yes, yeah. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it means, so forgive me if we're missing like a clear reference to something, but I do love that it's just Yaba is just the very first thing you see.
I thought it was like, is it Abba Zabbas or something like that?
Abba Zaba? What?
Abba Zabbas is a candy bar.
Are you thinking of Willy Wonka?
No, it's an actual candy bar. Abba Zabbas, ABBA-ZABA. I assumed it was something sort of slightly referential towards that, but I don't know. Maybe That's a little too American of a thing.
That's fair. I had no idea the band ABBA made chocolate. That's wild. Yeah. Good for them.
It's not chocolate.
Oh, well darn.
It's wait, let me pull it back up. I'll read it, the description. Creamy peanut butter filled taffy. Not like the most appealing sounding candy bar in the world, but
yeah, taffy can be tough for me. I have weak teeth.
To each their own.
Yeah, look forward to more of this on our spin-off show where we eat one piece of food a day.
Listen, we were going too fast. We have to get sidetracked somewhere.
Oh, don't you wait. I'm sure I can think of something.
Speaking of sidetracked, I did go and talk to Ken Amada at the shrine again with Yukari and Junpei there. That's fascinating to me. It's this whole little storyline with this character that is really interesting and has a personality and connects with these other two characters. And I, again, not related to anything yet, not a social link, hasn't given you items. It's just sort of this cool little side character right now.
It's just there in the background. You can miss it. Maybe that'll matter. Maybe it won't.
I'm interested to keep meeting him. That's for sure.
Maybe you never meet him again. Maybe it's just these two scenes and then he's gone.
He's the dog.
That would be a fun twist.
Doesn't Ken mean dog? No.
Does it?
Inu means dog. I don't know. I'm getting that confused with something else. Moving right along. What did you do with the day?
What did I do on July 5th? I haven't done any of this run, so I want to do one also just knowing that you ran into an unfortunate not time gate. I decided to hang out with Yuko after I got a text message from her because like, let me get a couple extra friendship points here just to make sure I'm safe. So I did that.
Cool. Nice. I just hung out with Maya. I'm catching up with Maya. So I got up to rank 6. Cool. I think I have successfully identified who this person is now, which is fun. No spoilers. Yeah. And then what about the evening?
I read books with Mitsuru.
Me too. Yeah.
I felt like this evening there was a limit, if I remember correctly. Like there weren't too many options.
Yeah, there were not a lot of options. And reading with Mitsuru, I think this was the first opportunity to do that specifically. So it seemed like a fun one to do. She has you reading biographies and history books because she's a total square.
And then I think she asks you, is this where she asks you about what you like to read? And it's like,
yeah, you can say novels, manga, or textbooks.
Man,
I said novels.
I think I did novels as well. I was really hoping I had a different answer, but I'm pretty sure I did novels too. Yeah. And I think she's like, oh, I like some of those when they're historical fiction or something like that. Yeah.
She likes historical fiction novels, yeah.
Yeah, which fits. Ah, good. You're remembering all these details. I'll never be able to guess who you might end up dating in this game. But anyway.
Yeah, so a nice little Sunday. I will say also, I kind of sped over this, but I'm liking the Maya storyline more, or at least now that I have, again, avoiding spoilers, now that I have more of a sense of who this person is and what the deal is and what their deal is and why I should care, I guess, it feels a little more personal and is a little more something where I'm like, oh, I'm enjoying this and finding out about this person more now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, moving on to the 6th.
The full moon eve?
Yes, full moon eve. Junpei is the one who's nervous now in the morning. He's sort of getting anxious about the whole thing. So everybody's on edge. Everybody's, ready to go. Everybody's needs some Akutsuki puns to lighten the mood.
I do also like, though, in this conversation that you can respond to him and be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like, you do get that option here, which is really fun. But yeah.
Side note, because I had a interaction with an NPC where you can talk to an NPC at Paulownia Mall today. I think. At least it is today. It might be more than that. With a detail that I almost saved for the pop quiz, but I think is too interesting and I wanted to talk about. Where a dude talks about, he asks you if you know why the Paulownia Mall is called Paulownia.
Oh,
and if you say no, he explains that a Paulownia is a type of plant that is related to the Kirijo group, and the Kirijo group owns the mall. Which is just like, it's so cool to me that the Kirijo or Mitsuru's connections to, and how powerful her family is, they do not tell you for so long, but they give you all these little hints, all these little mentions in the background of like, oh yeah, they own the school. Oh yeah, they own the entire mall. Oh yeah, she kind of can just get this teacher basically fired or whatever, right? It's really interesting how much they're holding that stuff out of the spotlight, but also still feeding it to you here and there.
Yeah, it's there's layers to the information reveals that I appreciate so much throughout this game, and I do think, without repeating myself for the 100,000th time, I do think the to your point of like, this is something you very easily could have missed, but man, does it just add further complexity to the idea, because now you know about the school, now you know a little bit more there, but this
she owns the whole city.
You'll have to keep playing to find out.
Jonathan's. Don't play poker, bud.
You'll have. What did you? Oh, it's very fun. This is not a show where I am good with poker. But I will say that does remind me of a side tangent, if I could, just very quickly. A thing that has been really troubling me playing this game, because the other game that I'm not playing in real time, but that I play daily, is Balatro. And so to have the Arcana in both games.
Sure.
Be a thing that I'm seeing. It's been some weird like mental links where I'm like, okay, do I associate? Sometimes I'll start playing Persona and associate a character with like a card-based power in Balatro. I'm like, no, why is my brain firing these specific neurons right now? But okay, that works. Balatro's great. You should go play it. But anyway,
no Jokers in this game though. That's the other Persona.
Damn, that's a good. I should have led with that. Oh, I will be debuting my new ending catchphrase, but we'll get there.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. What did you do during the day?
This is July 6th. I hung out with Odagiri and got him to rank 8.
I hung out with Odagiri as well, but only till 5.
Embarrassing.
I still don't like this dude, and so far I'm still of the mind, or this is definitely a confidant line that is indicative of the pander to somebody making bad choices is the right thing to say, which always is a little bit bitter to me.
They're not my favorites for sure too. I will say where I'm at, I do like the story a little bit more.
Okay.
But
I'm not hating it.
Yeah.
I just, that is the thing that annoys me, is when you see somebody actively acting like an idiot or a jerk or whatever, and you sort of by the mechanics of the game, have to just say, keep doing what you're doing.
Love
you're
you,
the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
anyway.
No, it's a struggle. I get it.
In the evening, the home shopping stuff that you ordered actually shows up a day early. These usually show up Tuesday, but because tomorrow is just the full thing, I guess they moved it to a day earlier.
It's so nice that Amazing Commodities knows that we'll be busy the next night.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the thoughtfulness there.
Yeah, it's good service.
Yeah.
My plants were done growing today. I think you and I are on different schedules, though, with that now, so probably not worth keeping track of.
It's good to know, because they're useful. Actually, they came in handy for me on this one.
Oh, nice. And then this evening, I just worked at the cafe, of all things. I just didn't know really what to do.
I made tea with Mitsuru, but again, yeah, it was a very light evening. I think this was very much I would guess, the idea is we are making sure people who have not gone to Tartarus have the chance to go to Tartarus and don't feel like they're missing something.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I get.
You got the other two people last week, is that right?
I did, yes. Yeah, I got them on my last visit, so I kind of I've been in the real world for a while. It's been fine. But yeah, I didn't go to Tartarus once this week.
Yeah, I mostly did the cafe because I just wanted both charm and courage, and, it's just useful and free and negative money, it's good.
Well, positive money, but yes, I get what you mean.
Well, let's not go into all that. But we get to the day. We get to the full moon day. Fuka checks in with you in the morning, but then beyond that, you just go straight to the dark hour. You get a moment right after school where it says, I gotta go home, and you don't get any evening, you don't get anything. It's just straight to the dark hour. You're in the command center for this beginning of this, and Fuka is using her persona to search and finds a very large shadow, and lo and behold, it's in a building on Shirakawa Boulevard, and this is where they explain, it makes sense now that pairs of people, couples, have been being found with apathy syndrome because the building on Shirakawa Boulevard is a love hotel.
No, Tom, it's just a hotel with exotic rules, is how Akutsuki puts it, I think.
Yeah. They never actually specifically say love hotel, but it's a hotel where people go to get down and freaky, let's say.
Which I guess I would argue just would be most hotels to some extent. But anyway.
I think this is a specific class of hotel.
Sure.
Meant for that.
Oh, I couldn't tell by the decor.
Pay for the room by the hour.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's impossible to tell once you get in there what the place is used for, but yeah. I guess you're right.
Oh man, there's some visual gags in this one that I'm excited to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
The hotel itself is called I didn't actually write it down in French, but I don't think I did it's either. Called the Field of Flowers in English. It's like Florida. I forgot to write down the actual name of those.
Really thought this was going to be the quiz. Not gonna lie, I thought you were going to make it an easy one.
Champ de Fleur, that's what it was. I was going to do it that, but then they just started talking about it so explicitly, I was like, that's a little on the nose.
That's fair.
And I love that Mitsuru, once again, pronounces it perfectly.
Yeah, she really turns on the accent for whenever she has to do a little bit of French. It's fun.
So as we enter this hotel, let's talk a little bit about overall impressions just right out the gate, because this hotel was like an emotional roller coaster for me.
Yeah, I really want to hear from you about this one.
I was like, yeah, it's like a dungeon. We're going to fight our way through to the boss. And then you walk through an empty hotel and you fight a boss that's this big, like, fat man with a naked lady over his shoulder and some pawns in front of him. And it's a super simple, easy fight. And you just sort of beat the guy and it's fine. And I was like, well, that was underwhelming. And so then I went down on the roller coaster, and then, it's a trap. Actually, there's still a shadow in the room, and you go and touch this mirror. You got to search for items around the room. You touch a mirror, and poof, you get a anime cutscene of Yukari naked in the shower.
Of all the places to have spent the budget on the anime cutscenes, probably could have used it elsewhere. But
it also doesn't make it super clear until you kind of walk around the room later. But you then wake up and are sort of teleported to a different location. You don't really remember what's going on. There's a strange voice in your head telling you to give in to your desire. And what's kind of not clear from the camera angle is that you got that anime cutscene because you're sitting on a bed and the wall of the room in front of you is a giant window and you are watching Yukari in the shower.
Yeah.
And the voice is basically telling you to give in to your desire. You know you want to, and then you resist, theoretically. I don't know what happens if you choose not to resist.
It resets you, because I actually, since I had known this one, I was like, let me choose some of the other ones that aren't what I know to be the correct path, and it essentially resets the cycle of conversation, and you have to pick the correct speech option to go forward.
Okay. Well, that's good that it actually is like a thing that matters. That's cute.
Yeah.
You resist. Yukari comes out in nothing but a towel and sort of also didn't know where she was. And then as soon as she comes to her senses, slaps you and runs back into the bathroom. And then at that moment, Fuka is able to reach you and says the shadow that was still hiding in that room was messing with your thoughts and I couldn't get through to talk to you, but your thoughts are clear now. So go back up and fight that shadow. And Yukari says, let's never talk about this ever again. And you don't.
For now.
This is a funny gag to me. It is a little bit exploitative to a certain extent. It's a what's the word? Fan servicey. It's a little bit fan servicey, but like as a mechanic, like as a thing that this shadow is doing, super interesting, right? Like this is a very cool out of left field thing that, you know, I was expecting some sort of twist, but like the getting split up and the theme of the love hotel, and it like I dug what it was doing.
For sure. It like, especially it obviously being the Lover's Arcana, the whole concept of pairs here, just the fact that you also are dealing with a pair of these shadows, the pairs of people who've gone missing, the pairs your team ends up with in a room. I guess that's a good question. What was your team makeup here?
Oh yeah, because you get to choose. I skipped over that part.
And Yukari very adamantly is like, I need to go.
Yukari has to be in it, obviously, for this part too. I chose Mitsuru and Akihiko.
I did the same, which makes me wish I didn't, because it would be interesting to discuss the difference there.
I would love to know. So let's get to this part. You go upstairs, and I was thinking, okay, now we're going to go in and we're going to fight our way through the rooms and find our party members. And then you go up the stairs and you immediately get your other two party members. And Mitsuru and Akihiko, at least, definitely have this moment where it's like, you're like, wait, did anything weird happen to you? And they're like, no, let's move on. Let's not talk about it. So clearly
a similar situation.
Yeah. I would love to hear from comments. What happens if you bring Junpei and Akihiko? Because you could do Junpei and Mitsuru and it would basically be the same gag. But what if you do Junpei and Akihiko? I'm so fascinated to know if the game adjusts for that in some way.
I'm trying to Google to see if there's just like a quick someone's opinion of it, but yeah.
Well, if you have an opinion of it, let us know in the comments, anywhere you may be watching or listening. Fuko chimes back in and basically tells you guys figure out that the thing that is channeling the energy of this shadow is the mirrors. There are special mirrors. So you got to go break these mirrors, and you go search some rooms for some mirrors. One of the mirrors doesn't reflect you. This is a really hilarious thing to me. It's a very video gamey, because you're standing in front of the mirror and then they're like, how do we know this is the right mirror? And somebody else is like, wait, don't you see what's different about this mirror? We're not being reflected in it. And like, that's a thing that you as a player don't easily, like, quickly notice, because we're trained to think video game mirrors are not very good most of the time. So you don't necessarily notice that they're not in the mirror right away. But if you were actually these people looking in the mirror, the first thing you would notice is that you're not in it.
Absolutely. It is really funny. I do remember around that time, maybe it was like the PS3 360 generation when it started to be a little more, but when, whoa, you can see your character in the mirror and it's actually them, like that sort of thing was mind-blowing.
Yeah. It was cool. I like this. I like that they do this though. You kind of have to go search for the right mirror based on actually looking at it. And then you go search the rooms for another mirror. You find the mirror. There's a couple of very funny visual gags in some of the rooms where there's coffins everywhere, right? Because it's the dark hour. And there's one room where there's 2 coffins on top of each other in bed. And then there's another room. I think the room with the mirror in it has 3 coffins, and like one of them is standing up in the bed. It's like, it's a good visual gag for sure.
It's really well done. It is a very like, it is a mature rated game. So a joke like that is not out of pocket of like, hopefully there aren't a bunch of kids playing this, but it is it is a good use of what is essentially a very static environment to make it interesting, especially as you're popping in and out of rooms where largely those rooms don't matter, to your point.
So here was my roller coaster, right? Because I was like, yeah, we're going to go on a dungeon. Oh, no, it's just a simple fight with no mini fights. Oh, there's a twist. We got to go through these rooms again. There's going to be fights when I break the mirrors. No, there's none of that. I just go back and fight another boss. And so, like, I really liked this whole thing. But also, I was disappointed ultimately by what it could have been, if that makes sense. I would have loved if there were mini fights. I would have loved if you had to pace yourself a little bit, or even if you just, when you broke the mirrors, if there's something going on. I didn't ever try to break a mirror that was the wrong mirror. Maybe that would have been a fight. I don't know. But it's so easy to tell which is the right mirror. It's not like I'm not going to go out of my way to do the wrong thing to have more fun or whatever.
No, for sure. It's a very obvious visual tell once you know what you're looking for. I think, I'd love to hear if you have any other like general thoughts, I guess, in comparison to the other full moons, because I guess this is more fully featured than the last one, which was very much just like run into Tartarus intro. It's maybe on par with the train in terms of spatial use, probably a little bit stronger.
I thought thematically this whole thing was way more interesting.
I agree.
Than the train.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I liked it definitely more than the train. I think I liked it slightly less than the Tartarus one, to be honest, because the Tartarus one had a lot of really good story. It was really interesting. I liked the Fuka introduction. This one felt a little sort of sideshowy, where it was like there's not really much reason to be here, and it's all pretty quick, but it was cool. It's cool that they did this. It's cool that you got this sort of special dungeon-y feeling with this new location and new terrain, and you weren't just reusing some tile set from Tartarus or whatever.
It is less character focused than the last one.
Yes.
Of weight, though it does have moments that matter. I think obviously I would argue very importantly for these characters, because it really changes the relationship power balance to some extent, unfairly so, but the fact that Yukari and the main character are in that position, you assume Akihiko and Mitsuru are to some extent, though they are like maybe closer, so maybe it's easier to brush it aside. Like, keep in mind, you have known Yukari for 2 months now, 3 months, so you are still relatively unfamiliar with one another, so it is complex there. And then obviously the sort of not complex but very clear strong emotion at the end of the full moon that we get as well, when it comes to Junpei. But yeah,
right. So before we get there, though, we do have a boss, the Lover's Arcana Shadow, which is this giant winged heart, really cool looking boss. This one is a little bit more nuanced than the first fight in this section, where the first one kind of goes by quick. This one's actually a little bit tricky, right? Because it's charming you. It's doing mass charms, and then after it does mass charms, it does this attack called the Heartbreaker, which will do even more damage if you are charmed. Luckily, I came into this fight with like 12 of the item that gets rid of charm for some reason, so probably all those sexy snakes I was fighting, which now also make more sense.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that ties in really well. I think I actually got pretty saved here because I had a Amarunyan or whatever. Which was able to cure my whole party at once. And I didn't have a lot of those items, but my entire team, but one person, I forget who at the time, got charmed or whatever. And so I was stuck, and that helped me out so quickly.
Nice. Yeah, I had my whole team except for the protagonist get charmed 3 different times, but every single time I was able to use Discharm on the next person, and then the next person would use Discharm on the next person, the next person would use Discharm, and then it would Heartbreaker, and it wouldn't do that much damage. So I got really I was able to manage it pretty okay. I think that this fight I could imagine being substantially more frustrating if you didn't have the items or the abilities to combat all of the charming.
Yes, and like, to be fair, it's also one of those things where, you know, there have been plenty of sales at the store, so hopefully people have been stopping in and stocking up where they can. But yeah, it could be really tricky if you don't have those specific things to help you, and especially if you have Yukari and she gets charmed and you can't use her, likely the only person or you know, one of maybe 2 who has skills to help out with that.
Right.
Because these fights, even with that, are pretty long. Like, to your point, I think both of these fights, to some extent, if you get caught in that loop, have to go on quite a while because you're going through those phases of healing everyone, and then I was also doing a lot of stat boosting and buffing and debuffing. So that also took up a lot of time. So it would be several rounds before
I don't know about you, but the heart like almost full healed itself at one point. It got down like a third health and then basically full healed itself.
Yeah, I had that happen
rough.
too. Yep. It's not fun when that happens in a battle where you really feel like you've been excelling. I think I started off on a good note with that fight, and then it did a mass heal, and I was like, God damn it, I'm back at the beginning. Okay, here we go. Yeah.
Well, it was a neat fight. Cool boss design, challenging but not crazy. I think these bosses are still a little bit more straightforward than I was hoping. They're sort of just like really cool, hard enemies, and I was hoping for maybe a little bit more uniqueness than that. But, you know, not disappointed by that by any means.
No, I get that. I think I've really been, especially on this playthrough, I think being cognizant of the idea, so much so of remembering that 5's palaces were such a revelation. And so to appreciate these smaller moments for going to these one-off locations that, you know, so far within the context of the game, we have not been back on the train. You know, we do go back to Tartarus, so that was a reused area, but it's like we've never been to this love hotel before. Who knows if we go back to a love hotel? But no, it's just one of those things where I think I appreciate a lot that they are using these unique environments to give some weight and importance to them, even if I guess like the intrigue of them doesn't quite beat up to it, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think that's all very fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, you beat this boss, and it's actually the last boss. You go back out onto the street in front of the hotel, and everybody's patting each other on the back and feeling really good. And boy, you're such a good leader. And Junpei is sad about it. And this hit even harder for me because Junpei I did not even bring.
Yeah, I don't know if this moment lasts if you don't have Junpei. It is voiced, so I assume it is. But maybe,
I think it is, yeah.
Maybe it's different, but yeah, it really hits if you don't bring him in.
People start to leave, except for Fuka, Yukari, and Junpei, I think. Fuka mentions to Yukari that she found something about the thing she asked her to look into, which was the school incident where a bunch of people decided to stop coming to school about 10 years ago. And then Yukari basically teases Junpei for being jealous of you, being like, you're jealous of him being the leader. And then Junpei runs off in a huff and is like genuinely upset about it, basically.
Yeah,
or at least not finding it amusing.
No, she calls him jealous. He yells at her to shut up and storms off. Like, it is very much not just a friend feeling like, oh, I got teased a little bit. He is taking this hard.
Yeah, which is an interesting. It's so interesting to me how much conflict within the group there is. Because they're not, you keep saying this, but like they have not known each other very long. And so to see Junpei's really upset about the leader stuff, Yukari's really suspicious of Mitsuru, there's just a lot of discourse going on right now in a way that I'm really fascinated by and excited to see more of. And it's also sort of an escalation of Junpei, where Junpei was sort of wanted to be the leader, wanted to be the center of attention, but always sort of in a playful, I want to prove myself sort of way. This is the first real clear indication that he's upset that
Yeah.
he's not being taken seriously and he does not have more responsibility within this team.
Yeah. No, it's I think up until this point, what I appreciate is for a game that is very larger than life, but also grounded because of its day-to-day nature, these do feel like pretty honest relationships. And I think I'm really appreciating that on a deeper level on the second playthrough, because you do really get to see in minute detail, just because of the length we're playing at, of the highs and lows of these relationships. Similarly, or conversely, I guess, Fuka and Yukari do seem to be becoming pretty fast friends to some extent as well.
Right.
So there is, and you do get, the bond that Akihiko and Mitsuru have had for being together longer as friends. So it's really showing you the multifaceted layers of friendships and relationships. And I appreciate that it's doing that within the context of your own team.
Yeah, totally. And that's not all, because you're being watched.
Oh,
Those 3 creeps from before are watching you. And not only that, I'm not going to summarize everything they said, but basically the short and long of it is that they have been watching you. They've been keeping tabs on you. They're impressed with how far you've come already. And then the main guy asks the green guy, we're going to have to ask our buddy if they're our enemy. And so they're not necessarily opposed to you right now, but they also are wary of you to some extent and very aware of what you've been doing during the dark hour.
Yeah, they're observing, but not fully trusting. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's an interesting dynamic right now, that they're not just like, they're getting in our way, right? It's clear that these people are not, or at least what's sort of clear here is, as far as we can tell, they're not the ones causing the shadows necessarily, because they would be a very different tenor to this conversation if they were like, curse them for defeating another one of our it's not that. They're like wondering if you're getting in the way or not.
For sure. It's not Rita Repulsa being like, you've destroyed my monster, my children,
right.
How dare you? It's, they're very much somewhat on the outside in a way that you are as well. Yeah.
They could still be involved, but it's clearly they're not like, that's not their role in this necessarily.
Yeah.
They also say cryptically, we don't have much time left. We don't know what that means, but I'm sure we'll find out one day. And that's all the time we have.
You did it. I did have a question for you from that scene, but I also don't know.
Yes.
Is your trivia question from that scene, I guess?
No, my trivia question is not from that scene.
Okay, because
You would not guess the trivia question this week.
Damn it. All right, before we get there, I do have to ask. They did mention the green guy's name. I don't know if you caught it there.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, so they did mention his name. So you are starting to at least get identities of these people. But he is named...
What's his name?
Jin, Jin. So you do get a name for one of them so far. So it's one of those interesting things where it's like not a huge detail, but it is thrown in there. And I appreciate it because it is just off the cuff. It's not like they each say each other's names immediately, then you get the whole group identified. It's just one person thrown in there. There you go.
Yes, Jonathan.
Why, thank you, Thomas.
Anyway, that's the week. That is the whole entire week. And next week, we'll be back with more Persona 3 Reload. Next week, we're going to be doing July 8th to 13th, so we're shaving off a day. Get a little bit back on track. And that'll break up. I think you said it's like breaking up, so it's like a week of free time, and then we'll have the following week will be the midterms week, which does get brought up as we very soon is, oh, hey, by the way, midterms are in a week.
Yes, yeah. We're switching around. I believe I did actually post all the dates on the Patreon for free and paid people. So regardless, if you just join the Patreon, you can see that post and check in on what the dates for the month are, so it's not too confusing for everyone as we go. But yes, it will make it a little bit easier. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. I do know we have a bunch of questions and comments. We'll use those in these next couple weeks because I think we have a lot of time we'll be able to fill. So
yeah. And I guess I spoke, it's finals, not midterms, because this is also, we're heading into summer vacation.
Yeah, so we'll see how these exams go, but
yeah. So we'll take more comments. Then, like Jonathan said, we'll have a lot of time for all that sort of stuff. And next week we'll dig into Miyamoto probably as well. So if you haven't finished that up and are interested in doing so, do that. But before we go, we do have a pop quiz.
We do.
A weird one.
Oh, boy.
So I was exploring a little bit because I wanted to see, at some point I was trying to see if, before we knew what it was, I wanted to check if the alleyway, the back alley, was what Shirakawa Boulevard was. So I was like checking around there, and I was talking to the guys who mentioned you mentioned this last week. There's some guys that talk about the three dudes coming around at some point. That back alleyway has a lot of little details in it. Here's my quiz. This is one you could find in the world if you'd like to go figure it out now. It's not a time-sensitive one.
Okay. Whew.
What actual real-life band is advertised in Persona 3 Reload?
I kind of want to ask a question, but I know I can just go look for it. But I don't know because I have not noticed this. So I want to know if it's still an existing band or if they're like retired by now. That's really interesting.
They are not retired. Oh. Actively touring.
Actively touring?
Actively touring. This is not also, as I was doing the research for this one, I've heard that in the original game, or in one of the originals, there was a poster for NoFX in Club Escapade, and apparently that has been changed, but there is a potentially copyright infringing poster in Persona 3 Reload for a very real band in the real world. That's the question. The bonus point question for this is, what album is being advertised, because it's a real-life recognizable album of theirs.
Oh my god. Wow.
So that's your detail. Go hunt down this poster for an actual real-life band, and then tell us if you found it in the comments at youtube.com/Dornology. You can write in at dornology@gmail.com. Patreon.com/takeyourtime. I'm at Tom R. Marks. He's at JM Dornbush. Anywhere your heart desires, let us know if you found it. This is a fun little one. It's an Easter egg hunt.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. And I think that's about it.
Just
Jonathan,
the one final reveal of the week.
Oh, yes. Drum roll, please.
So say your goodbyes, Tom. Because who
thank you, everybody. And again, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/takeyourtime is where you can do it directly, or like, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a review. All of that stuff helps, and we'd love having you here regardless. I think that's all. Jonathan, take us away.
No, yes. Thank you to everyone out there. We truly appreciate the support so much. I'm not trying to undermine that with my dumb pun. Really bringing the Akutsuki vibes. Shout out to who inspired this, and then who wrote this. Shout out to Sable in the Patreon, who did say, one of their comments from the last week was, I remember you guys at the beginning of the season lamented not having a little outro quote for each episode, like Nice to Celia. I have a few suggestions I'd like to see. I'd like to posit either something like sees you all later or sees you next week for a comedic one, or incorporate done and dusted for something cool. I mentioned that first bit to my fiance, and she came up with the one that I want to use because I think it's even cheesier, but also works in a school level if you've maybe seen a show or two where someone says a quote like this. But I hope everyone out there seizes the day.
That's all we got. Goodbye. We love you.